The day I received my acceptance letter from Tsinghua University, my cousin knelt before me, clutching her stomach, claiming she was pregnant with my boyfriend's child and begging me to let them be together. I couldn't stop grinning. I was just wondering how to break off the engagement with that scumbag. Isn't it great to graduate from a prestigious university, inherit a fortune, and become a billionaire heiress? Men are only slowing down my money-making pace. One, after dying from overwork, I was reborn. As soon as I opened my eyes, I was met with a pair of pitiful eyes. My cousin, Su-ro, stood at my front door wearing a simple white dress and holding a large suitcase. This was 1 month before the national college entrance exams. My cousin Su-ro, a junior in college, came to stay with us, using the excuse that our place was closer to her university. Ro, why didn't you let your uncle know you were coming? I would have picked you up. My dad pushed me aside, pulled Su-ro into the house, and then moved into my room, rubbing my sore arm where my dad had bumped into me. I squinted. What did I do in my previous life? The painful memory came back easily. Proud and stubborn, I refused to give up my room, got into a huge argument with my dad, and ended up getting slapped by him. This led to a huge fight between my mom and dad, and their already troubled relationship was hanging by a thread. Not only that, but soon after, Su-ro started flirting with my boyfriend, Zhang Chuyang. Unwilling to let Su-ro take everything from me, I lost all interest in studying, fixated on how to get her out of my house and away from my boyfriend. As a result, I, who had always excelled academically, performed poorly, and my college entrance exam score was only enough for a vocational college. Then, my parents divorced, and I stayed with my dad. Su-ro framed me for pushing her down the stairs, and my dad kicked me out of the house. Su-ro married Zhang Chuyang, who came from a wealthy family, with the millions in betrothal gifts my dad gave her. After graduating from university, I couldn't find a suitable job and ended up working on an assembly line, where I died from overwork. 2. Reborn, I willingly gave up my bedroom and moved into the attic on the 3rd floor. It wasn't out of fear, but because I needed to seize the opportunity of the college entrance exam. My past life taught me that true strength comes only from within. I live alone on the 3rd floor, which is very quiet. I study late into the night every day. I pretended not to notice all the little things Su-ro and Zhang Chuyang did. Finally, after the college entrance exam, I was highly sought after by both Tsinghua and Peking University due to my high score. In the end, I chose Tsinghua. My heart didn't settle until I held Tsinghua's acceptance letter in my hands. I pushed open the attic window and let out a heavy sigh. Now, it's time to settle the score with Su-ro, Zhang Chuyang, and my father. 3. As I came downstairs, I happened to see Su-ro nestled in Zhang Chuyang's arms, blushing with shy laughter. Seeing me, Zhang Chuyang pushed Su-ro away and walked towards me. Han, you're finally down. You've been so busy studying lately that you've had no time for me. Now you'd better spend some quality time with me. With that, Zhang Chuyang reached out to grab my hand. I took a step back, putting some distance between us. But it seems like you already have someone with you. I glanced meaningfully at Su-ro. After a brief moment of embarrassment, Zhang Chuyang put on a carefree demeanor and said, Hanin, what are you imagining? I'm close with Su-ro only because she's your cousin. Su-ro's face turned pale at the harsh words. A faint, pleased smile touched my lips. My marriage to Zhang Chuyang was an arranged union between 2 wealthy families, a betrothal settled in our childhood. That's why, in my past life, I had always regarded him as my future husband. When Su-ro stole him away, I simply couldn't accept it. At this point in my previous life, despite my desperate attempts to keep them apart, Zhang Chuyang and Su-ro were already deeply, irrevocably in love. And now, perhaps because I am no longer the catalyst, Zhang Chuyang is still secretly dating Su-ro behind my back. Acting alongside Zhang Chuyang might indeed make Su-ro uncomfortable, but it disgusts me even more. How can I quickly dissolve my engagement with Zhang Chuyang? In a moment of thought, I quickly came up with an idea. I gazed at Zhang Chuyang affectionately. Since I'm going to marry you sooner or later, why don't we get married? For marriage, Su-ro exclaimed. First, what, cousin unwilling? Or does cousin want to take my place and marry Chuyang? The words that struck deep made Su-ro tremble with her lips, not knowing what to say. Zhang Chuyang's expression was also a bit awkward. Obviously, the pleasure of having his feet in 2 boats hasn't been fully enjoyed yet. I might as well pour some oil on the fire. Chuyang, I got into Tsinghua University. If auntie finds out, she'll definitely be overjoyed. Did you really get into Tsinghua? Zhang Chuyang's eyes lit up. Seeing me nod, his face broke into wild joy. Wait, I'm going home to tell my mom right now. The Zhang family made their fortune in coal mining a few years ago. Although the coal business isn't doing well now, they have a solid financial foundation and have invested in other ventures. For all their wealth, not a single one in that family amounted to much. Academically, the highest educational attainment in their family belongs to Zhang Chuyang, 3 years my senior. He entered the workforce straight after high school, never attending university. Consequently, the Zhang family is often the subject of hushed criticism, dismissed behind their backs as nothing but vulgar nouveau riches who lack class. Those who have the least are often the loudest about it. Mrs. Zhang would brag about my good grades wherever she went, now that I've been admitted to Tsinghua University. She's undoubtedly hoping I'll marry into the Zhang family sooner rather than later. The moment Zhang Chuyang left my house, Su Ro couldn't contain herself any longer. Clutching her stomach, she knelt before me and said, "Hanin, I've wronged you. I'm pregnant with Zhang Chuyang's child." I know, after all, I was the one who had poked holes in the safety helmets Zhang Chuyang and Su Ro were using. And I did it ahead of time with a needle. My firm, resounding words made Su Ro's sobs stop abruptly. How could you possibly know? A faint smile played on my lips. Without saying another word, I turned and headed upstairs. Looks like we're in for a tough battle this afternoon. I need to get some proper rest to recharge and be ready for it. 5 bang, bang, bang. I was jolted awake by the violent pounding on my door. Immediately, my dad's furious voice erupted from the other side. "Locking the door in your own house. All you do is study and sleep all day. I might as well be raising a pig. Why can't you be more like your cousin? She gets up early every morning to cook, and she even," frowning, I walked straight to the door and opened it. My father's incessant chatter trailed off as he took in my expressionless face. Then, anger flashed across his features. "You little brat, how dare you look at me like that?" he snarled, his hand already swinging toward me. I hurried down the stairs, leaving his slap to connect with nothing but air. Downstairs, Mr. and Mrs. Zhang and their son, Zhang Chuyang, were laughing heartily. This smile only intensified when she saw me. Su Ro, who was serving tea beside them, had tears in her eyes. It seems the Zhang family doesn't know about Su Ro's pregnancy. TSK. So much for Su Ro's supposed capabilities. I can't believe I have to be the one to expose this. 6 Uncle, Auntie. I walked up to Zhang's mother. Zhang's mother immediately noticed the Tsinghua University admission letter in my hand and took it to examine it closely. Then she handed the admission letter to Zhang's father and turned to hold my hand. "Our Hanin is so outstanding. Auntie just loves you to death." When my father came down, she couldn't wait to say to him, "In-laws, Chuyang is already in his 20s, and Hanin is an adult now. Why don't we hold the wedding first and get the certificate later? What do you think? The Zhang family's strength is above ours." Hearing Mrs. Zhang's words, my dad temporarily set aside his dissatisfaction with me and forced a smile. "Of course, that's great. So, when do you think would be a good date for us to set?" Seeing Mr. and Mrs. Zhang and my dad already discussing the date for my wedding to Zhang Chuyang, I found it laughable. My mom is still at the company and hasn't returned, yet they blatantly ignore her presence. Meanwhile, Su Ro's gaze was fixed intently on Zhang Chuyang. Zhang Chuyang, who would usually melt at a single smile from Su Ro, now sat rigidly upright, completely ignoring her pointed looks. When faced with personal gain, their love seemed to count for nothing. Otherwise, let's set the wedding for next month, before Hanin starts school. I think that works. Zhang's parents and my dad agreed instantly. At that moment, I spoke up. "Uncle, Auntie, I also want to marry Chuyang." But, as I said this, I looked accusingly at Su Ro with a wronged expression, and continued, "But she secretly seduced Chuyang behind my back and even got pregnant with his child." 7. My words sent a shock through the room. "Hanin, are you sure about this? She's your cousin." I wish I was mistaken, but she told me this herself, not long ago. Now was finally the moment for the eye drops I'd prepared earlier. Tears fell with a plop. I hung my head, pretending to cry, while stealing glances at Su Ro from the corner of my eye. Of the 3 Su brothers, only my father managed to get into university and married my mother. He leveraged my mother's family's influence to establish the Su group, but the real power behind the company was my mother. My father was merely a figurehead president. Although my father's brothers and their families were doing much better with my father's subtle support, they couldn't compare to our family at all. Su Ro has always envied me since she was a child. I've made it this clear, and if Su Ro doesn't seize this opportunity to marry into a wealthy family, I'll look down on her. Fortunately, this time, she didn't disappoint me. Surrounded by everyone, Su Ro knelt before Zhang's parents. "Uncle, Auntie, Chuyang and I are truly in love." Before Zhang's parents could react, Zhang Chuyang had already jumped to his feet. "I took precautions. How could you be pregnant?" That one sentence confirmed the matter. "Chuyang, I don't know how this happened. Didn't you say you didn't like Sui Han at all, that she was dull and wooden, and that you would eventually break off the engagement with her and be with me? You also said." "Shut your mouth," in a fit of impatience, Zhang Chuyang slapped Su Ro across the face. The next second, Zhang's father kicked Zhang Chuyang in the stomach, shouting, "You disgraceful wretch, you've shamed our entire family, why are you hitting our son?" Zhang's mother protested. "It's obvious that little tramp Su Ro seduced him, if anyone should be hit, it's her." Zhang's mother grabbed Su Ro's hair. My dad quickly tried to intervene, frustrated. Zhang's mother even scratched my dad, afraid of getting scratched in the face. My dad took a step back. And then Zhang's mother pinned Su Ro to the ground and started hitting her, suddenly unable to avoid her. Su Ro clutched her stomach. My child, my child." A streak of crimson flowed from Su Ro's legs to the floor. Zhang's mother, afraid of getting involved in a legal case, quickly stopped and dialed 120. Half an hour later, Su Ro was carried onto the ambulance. Mr. and Mrs. Zhang Chuyang, and my father followed anxiously behind. I sat on the living room sofa, watching the figures heading out the door, a cold sneer curling at the corner of my mouth. Just at that moment, a dark, brooding gaze swept over me. "It's my dad." He suddenly turned around, catching the smile on my face. I instinctively suppressed my smile, but then quickly realized I was no longer the timid, powerless version of myself from my past life, the one he had always suppressed. I lifted my head and flashed a bold, defiant grin at my father. Seeing my defiant look for the first time, my father flew into a rage and looked as if he was about to turn back and settle the score with me, but the ambulance outside couldn't wait, so he had no choice but to climb aboard and leave. Not long after the ambulance departed, my mother returned. She was dressed in a fitted business suit with her hair up in a bun, though in her 40s with fine lines at the corners of her eyes. She still retained an elegant and graceful charm. Her hair was slightly disheveled, a clear sign she had rushed back in a hurry. "Hanin, Auntie told me something happened. What's going on?" Her tone was a bit brusque, the mark of someone consumed by her career. Yet her eyes were filled with nothing but concern. "It's a pity that, in my past life, I never saw that concern back then. It never even crossed my mind that Mom might be working so hard for my sake. I just thought she was only focused on her job and making money, that she simply didn't love me. I've been rebellious since I was a kid, always loved going against my mom, even when my mom gave up her stake in the Su Group and divorced my dad, with her only condition being to take me with her. I stubbornly chose to stay with my dad because I couldn't stand the thought of losing to Su Ro. In the end, my disappointed mother left with nothing, walking away empty-handed and moving abroad. Thinking about it now, I can feel my nose starting to sting. "Mom." I threw myself into her arms, hugging her tightly. "Mom, you're finally back." 9. In my previous life, I was rarely close to my mom. Since my rebirth, we've grown much closer. There's still a bit more distance compared to ordinary mother-daughter relationships. My mom's body stiffened first, then she relaxed, awkwardly patting my back. "Hanin, have you been wronged?" I nodded and told her about what happened today. "Zhang Chuyang and Su Ro have secretly been together, and they even have a child. This is outrageous. My mom is furious, and I'm going to confront them right now. The Zhang family and the eldest son's family must give me an explanation today." As she said that, my mom grabbed me and we headed out the door. She drove me to the hospital. When we arrived at the hospital, Su Ro was lying on the bed, barely clinging to life. Zhang's parents, Zhang Chuyang, and my dad are all in the hospital room. The other three look terrible, but only my dad is showing concern for Su Ro. "Ro, does it hurt? Are you hungry? If you feel unwell, tell me, my child." Su Ro touched her belly and wept. My dad's tone softened. "It's okay, kid, just focus on getting better. Don't worry about anything else." "Thank you, uncle." Unable to bear it any longer, my mom pushed open the hospital room door and coldly mocked, "You weren't this considerate with Hanin. One might think Su Ro isn't your niece but your illegitimate daughter." 10. My mom literally speaks for me, saying everything I want to say. As expected, my dad got angry too. He, who lacks ability in his career, loves to be more temperamental than my mom. "Jing Yunru, what are you talking nonsense about?" I've seen this side of my dad many times, but this time, I caught a glimpse on my dad's face, something I'd never noticed before: guilt. I looked at my dad, then at Su Ro on the bed. A bold thought began to rise in my mind. Am I making this up? Su Ro even dared to steal Han's fiancé. How shameless, yet you still defend her. Do you even care about us, your wife and daughter? Su Ro is just young and naive. Besides, she's not a stranger, she's my niece. Seeing the two about to erupt into a fight, I quickly grabbed my mother's hand. Mom, coming to her senses, my mother took a deep breath, temporarily suppressing her anger towards my father, and turned to look at Zhang's parents. Zhang's parents, who were originally watching the drama unfold, suddenly tensed up. In-laws, that don't call me in-laws, since your son lacks self-discipline, let's just call off this marriage. Before Zhang's parents could respond, my father rushed forward. It's a pity to give up. Why not let Roro take Yihan's place and marry Chuyang? Absolutely not, Mrs. Zhang's eyes widened. Hanin got into Tsinghua. What about Suro? She went to some unknown college, and she's from the countryside. Our Zhang family wouldn't accept such a daughter-in-law, in my opinion. Just have Suro get rid of the baby and send her packing back to the countryside. We can pretend this whole mess never happened. Surely we can't let some little tramp come between our two families. Right, Mother, Zhang said, turning to my mother. My mother glanced at my father's livid face. She patted my hand reassuringly, then said slowly, well, I suppose that could work. 11. Seeing my mother agree, Mrs. Zhang breathed a huge sigh of relief. In that case, I'll have the doctor prepare for the abortion. With that, Mrs. Zhang was about to make arrangements. Suddenly, Suro, who had been too weak to even speak while lying in bed, jumped down and clung to Zhang Chuyang's leg. Chuyang, can you really bear to do this to me? Sob. She wept like a pear blossom bathed in rain. Zhang Chuyang's face showed struggle. Seeing this, Zhang's mother was furious. You shameless girl, don't touch my son, she shouted, pulling Suro. Just then, two figures rushed in. If you dare bully my daughter, I'll fight you to the death. It was Suro's parents who burst in. They had obviously just received the news and rushed over. Seeing Suro being bullied, they pushed Zhang's mother aside and started beating her up. Zhang's father also joined the fight. Suro's parents, seasoned farmhands with formidable strength, were more than a match for Mr. and Mrs. Zhang. Seeing his own parents howling in pain, Zhang Chuyang charged into the fray. The six of them tumbled into a tangled heap on the ground. I couldn't help but let out a laugh. The laughter caught my dad's attention. He strode over to me, furious. Suihan, you've gone too far. If it weren't for you, how could things have escalated to this point? Me, what does this have to do with me? Isn't it Suro's own fault for being shameless? Shut up, I won't. What, could it really be as my mom said, that Suro isn't your niece but your illegitimate daughter? As my voice fell, my dad's face turned livid with anger. Nonsense. Today I'm going to teach you a good lesson. With that, my dad raised his hand to slap me. My mom instinctively shielded me behind her. How dare you? How dare I? Jing Yunru, if you try to stop me, I swear I'll hit you too. Ha! A cold, mocking young voice drifted in from outside the hospital room. How ridiculous. This is the first time I've ever seen a father who can't stand to see his own daughter doing well. 12. I turned around and saw a face that was both unfamiliar and familiar. The boy's features were delicate, his contours sharp, and he was exceptionally handsome. The scratches near his eyes and the blood at the corner of his mouth only added a touch of allure. Rather than detracting from his handsomeness, his single eye exuded a clear air of ferocity and menace. It's my high school classmate Qin Zhou. After graduating from high school, I haven't seen many of my classmates. The reason I feel familiar with him is that I happened to see him once before I was reborn. At that time, I was going home after work as usual, but I was stopped by two men on the way. Qin Zhou showed up in a luxury car, honked briefly, and the two men fled in fear. I thanked Qin Zhou, and he said, no need to thank me, old classmate. It was only then that I dredged up a few scattered memories of Qin Zhou from the depths of my mind. While grateful, I also felt deeply embarrassed. My high school classmates are doing great. And me, I pull my thoughts back and look at this face again. He's not as steady as he was before my rebirth, appearing much more youthful but still handsome. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to meddle in my family's affairs, you little brat? Today, I'm going to teach my own daughter a lesson, with outsiders mocking us. My dad, who has a strong sense of pride, feels even more humiliated. Rolling up his sleeves, he was about to hit me. My mom stepped in front of me to protect me, but his hand didn't stop. He actually intended to hit my mom too. I tried to block my dad's slap, but a hand got there before me, firmly restraining his arm. It was Qin Zhou. My furious dad wanted to teach Qin Zhou a lesson too, but his hand was held back by Qin Zhou, leaving him unable to move. The two faced off, Qin Zhou looking calm, while my dad's face turned a deep shade of red. Eventually, the medical staff noticed the commotion and rushed into the ward to break it up. My dad took the opportunity to pull back his hand and turn to look at Suro. I turned back to thank Qin Zhou, only to find that he had already turned and left. At the end of the long corridor, his figure looked frail. Loneliness lingered. 13. Half an hour later, with the hospital staff's efforts to calm them down, the crowd in the room finally settled into a tense quiet. Everyone looked disheveled and utterly spent, except for my father, who, despite his show of concern for Suro, had managed to keep himself completely detached from the chaos. The Zhang family held their heads high, Their arrogance on full display. Su-Ro's parents bowed their heads, uneasy and anxious. Their greatest dream was to marry Su-Ro into a wealthy family, but just now, they had beaten that wealthy family to the ground. The child in Su-Ro's belly must be aborted. Zhang's father spoke angrily. Zhang's mother agreed. I would rather die than let Su-Ro marry into our family. How can that be acceptable? Uncle Su is not happy. Your son Zhang Chuyang got our Su-Ro pregnant. If you don't take responsibility, we'll go to your company and make a scene. Let everyone judge the situation. Uncle Su's words made Zhang's parents turn pale. 200,000, that's a human life. 200,000 to buy a life. You, Mr. Zhang cut off Mrs. Su's relentless protests. 500,000, this time. The moment he finished speaking, Su Daqiang and Lu Meifeng eagerly nodded in agreement. Deal. On the hospital bed, Su-Ro cried herself into a faint. She was genuinely unconscious, sadly. Even if she passed out, she couldn't escape her fate on the operating table. After dealing with the Su Daqiang family, the exhausted Mr. and Mrs. Zhang turned to my mother-in-law. They said, once Su Rong loses the baby, let's have Chu Yang marry Han. What do you think? A flicker passed through my mother's eyes. That depends on how your Chu Yang behaves. Don't worry, if Chu Yang ever messes around again, I'll break his legs, Mrs. Zhang declared, yanking Zhang Chuyang forward. Zhang Chuyang nodded and promised, his mind clearly elsewhere. His eyes kept darting glances in the direction Su-Ro had been led away. Without chatting further with Mrs. Zhang, my mother took me and left. In the car, as she drove, my mother asked me, what are your thoughts on the marriage arrangement with Zhang Chuyang? 14, as if I'd ever want a scumbag like him. Just thinking about Zhang Chuyang fills me with disgust. It's a visceral, physical revulsion. He's a coward who cheats and lacks responsibility. There's nothing good about him. In my past life, I must have been blinded by lard to compete with Su-Ro for a piece of garbage. My words seemed to ease some of the worry in my mother's brow. So, what do you plan to do now? I want to break off the engagement with Zhang Chuyang. Dragging things out with Zhang Chuyang for a while would certainly hurt him and Su-Ro more deeply, but just the thought of being called his fiancé makes me sick. Mom, if Su-Ro gets rid of the baby, won't the Zhang family just keep clinging to me? I shared my worries with my mother. She gave me a reassuring smile and said, don't worry, leave it to me. Once we got home, my mother first called Zhang Chuyang's mother-in-laws. Has the child in Su-Ro's belly been aborted? Not yet. The doctor said we have to wait until she wakes up to check her condition before proceeding with the surgery. I think that slut Su-Ro is faking her faint. Exactly. What kind of decent person would seduce her sister's boyfriend? In-laws. Don't be soft-hearted at a crucial moment. Chu Yang can still have children. After Chu Yang marries Han Han, they can have 10 or 8 kids. After ending the call with Zhang's mother, my mom looked at me. Before I could even ask, she made her position clear. Zhang Chuyang is their only son. His parents went through a lot to have him. Rumor has it his father had some fertility issues, so, considering the whole carrying on the family line thing, Mrs. Zhang probably won't let Su-Ro go through with the surgery. A light went on in my eyes. My mom tapped my forehead with a smile. Clever girl. That way, the Zhangs won't have the nerve to keep pestering us. And even if Su-Ro manages to have the baby, the Zhang family would still look down on her. Hearing this, I looked at my mom with admiration in my eyes. Mom, you're amazing. My mom smiled and hugged me, gently stroking my head. My daughter, no one can bully you. 15. Feeling the warmth of my mom's embrace, my nose couldn't help but tingle. My mom said this to me in my previous life too. How did I respond? I said, if you really don't want me to be bullied, you should help me get Zhang Chuyang back. But Henin, Zhang Chuyang isn't worth it. I just like him. No matter if it's worth it or not, I'm like possessed. My only wish is to separate Su-Ro and Zhang Chuyang. Despite my insistence, my mom had to humble herself to talk to Zhang's parents, only to be looked down upon by them. Of course, even after how Zhang Chuyang has treated me, I still can't bear to let go. Wouldn't my mom be looked down upon just because she has a daughter like me? Henin, what's wrong? Feeling my emotional turmoil, my mom asked with concern. I buried my face in my mom's embrace and mumbled, Mom, I don't think my dad deserves to be my father. Just like she was never quite close enough with me, there was always something between my mom and dad. My mom was always busy with work, while my dad would take her money and squander it all over town, just to show off. Looking back now, their relationship had been broken for a long time. It was only for my sake that my mom kept trying to make it work with my dad. But now I see things clearly. A father who doesn't care about me, I don't need. I wish my mother would ask my father for a divorce, but she didn't. She just held me tight, and after a long while, let out a sigh. It was a bit disappointing, but understandable after all. In my past life, my mother didn't file for divorce from my father until a year Later, by that time, Zhang Chuyang, Su Ro, and my father had already driven me to the brink of a mental breakdown. She was utterly disillusioned with my father and wanted to take me away, but now, aside from constantly taking Su Ro's side, my father hasn't really done anything else that's unforgivable. As much as I want to cut ties with my father sooner, I know some things can't be rushed. 16 in the afternoon. My mom went out to prepare for my graduation banquet. I called all the servants in the Dilla over and instructed, throw Su Ro's things out. Yes, I tolerated Su Ro for a while for the sake of studying. From now on, I won't give anyone the chance to hurt me. After all of Su Ro's things were thrown out, the servants cleaned my room, and I moved back from the attic. In the evening, as soon as my mom came home, my dad followed right behind her. When he saw us, his arrogant expression vanished, replaced by a look of awkward embarrassment. He walked up to my mother, took her hand, and said, "At the hospital earlier, I was just so upset. Please don't be angry with me." Normally, even when he knows he's in the wrong, my father never apologizes. He's definitely up to something now. My mother withdrew her hand, her expression indifferent. "Judging by your look, I take it Su Ro didn't go through with the abortion." Having his thoughts laid bare, my father was somewhat embarrassed. Zhang Chuyang got tested, low sperm count. It won't be easy for him to have children in the future. This was a last resort, and so, my mother stared steadily at my father. Faced with my mother's composure, my father's guilt turned to anger. It's Ihan's own fault for not being more capable, for not winning Zhang Chuyang's affection. Since Ro is already carrying his child, it's better to give this marriage arrangement to her instead. My mom also has a tough temper, and her face immediately darkened. "Su Zhennan, I don't care about this marriage, but what do you mean? What do you mean Hanan isn't likable? In your eyes, is your niece Su Ro the only one who's likable? Isn't that right?" My dad slammed the table and stood up, pointing at me. "Look at her, acting like I owe her millions. Where's the likability? Unlike Ruru, who serves me tea, takes care of me, and 17. Shut up." My mom was so angry her chest was heaving, worried that my mother might get too upset. I quickly stepped forward to help her catch her breath. "Mom, let's not be angry. If dad doesn't care about me, that's fine. I still have you." Seeing my concern, my mother took a deep breath and tried to suppress the anger within her. Ignoring Su Zhennan, she took my hand and led me upstairs. She looked at me. "Your dad." She wanted to say something, but the words just wouldn't come out. I squeezed my mom's hand back. "Mom, in my heart, I don't have a father. From childhood to adulthood, my father never cared about me, never took care of me, never attended my parent-teacher meetings, never. He was never involved in any of the major or minor events in my life. In fact, he feels no affection for me at all, only disgust. But with Su Ro, it's different. Only around her does he act like a father. Sometimes I even thinking of that suspicion in my heart. I gritted my teeth and continued, "I think Su Ro is his real daughter, and I'm just an obstacle who stole her place." "Hanan," my mother exclaimed, startled by my words, "I can assure you, you are your father's child. As for Su Ro, your father is a selfish man. He's always wanted to bleed me dry to support his two brothers. Deep down, he felt he was part of a family with his two brothers. Seeing me as an outsider, he placed you in the same position as me, which is why he treated you. Rest assured, Su Ro is definitely not your father's child. Your father doesn't care for you, but mom will love you twice as much." Hearing this, I nodded and stopped dwelling on the issue. Instead, I said, "My dad wants Su Ro to marry Zhang Chuyang. Did Zhang's parents accept her because she's pregnant? If that's the case, Su Ro got off too easily." 18. Absolutely not. I know Mr. and Mrs. Zhang all too well. They're probably thinking of having Su Ro give birth in secret, then letting you and Zhang Chuyang raise the child. That's why they sent your father back to plead their case. But how could your father bear to let his precious niece suffer such an indignity? So the real reason he came back this time was to get me to step in and convince the Zhangs to let Su Ro marry into their family. I'm not that foolish. After that argument with your father just now, he probably won't dare bring it up. After hearing what my mom said, I couldn't help but give her a thumbs up. My mom is still the best. Exactly. My mom looked so proud. "Your graduation banquet is set for 3 days from now. I'll send you the hotel address on WeChat later. Focus on inviting your classmates to attend. Leave everything else to me. On the day of the banquet, I will announce to everyone that you and Zhang Chuyang have called off your engagement." "Okay, Mom." Back in my room, I still felt a bit puzzled. My mom's abilities are even more outstanding than I thought. She's so smart that she's certain Su Ro isn't my dad's child. Could it be that I was wrong about this? I shook my head and decided to put this question aside for now. I took out my phone and sent invitations for my graduation banquet to a few close friends. As I was finishing up the invitations, I thought of Qin Zhou. He was in the same class as me, however, during high school. I barely had any impression of him. From what I remember, he always sat in the very back row of the classroom. During class, he was either sleeping or on his phone, and the teachers couldn't be bothered to deal with him. He was always getting into fights, and his parents were constantly being called in to see the teacher. He was the epitome of a rebellious student, but because he was so good-looking, his desk drawer was always stuffed with love letters. He never even glanced at those letters, though, just tossed them in the trash on a regular basis. Our paths have barely crossed, yet across lifetimes, he has stepped in to help me twice. After a moment of hesitation, I still sent a message to Qin Zhou since I wasn't very familiar with him. My tone was quite polite. My college celebration is in 3 days. Would you be free to come? To my surprise, he replied almost instantly with just one simple word. Okay. 19. A few close friends, regardless of their exam results, are having their graduation parties these days. On this day, as I got ready to leave, my dad, sitting on the sofa, gave me a sharp once-over. "Ihan, is something wrong?" My tone was cold with a displeased frown. My dad said, "Your cousin is still in the hospital recovering. How can you have the heart to go out and play?" If you put it that way, since your cousin is still in bed, how can you have the heart to sit at home drinking tea? I think you should be by her side in the hospital without leaving her side. My sharp retort made my dad's face turn sour. "Isn't it because I stayed up late last night, and I just couldn't hold on today, right?" I was in a hurry to leave and couldn't be bothered to waste any more breath on him. Just as I reached the door, my father's voice called out again, "Remember to find some time to visit your cousin." I suspected his real motive wasn't for me to see Su Ro, but for her to give me a good talking to. I pretended not to hear him and walked out. After attending my friend's college acceptance celebration, I had the driver take a detour to the hospital. On the way back, when I arrived at the hospital, Su Ro was sitting on the bed, being fed fruit by Su Daqiang and Lu Meifeng. Our Ro is really something, isn't she? Looks like she's destined to marry into a wealthy family sooner or later. What good is Su Yihan's book smarts if she can't even keep a man? When you marry Zhang Chuyang, make sure your uncle gives you a generous dowry. The whole family of 3 was calculating furiously. I pushed the door open at the right moment. Aunt Zhang just called me and told me that Chu Yang would absolutely never marry Su Ro, and once Su Ro gives birth, she'll be sent back to the countryside. 20. My words caused the faces of the people inside the room to change dramatically. "Ihan, given how things stand, even if you marry Zhang Chuyang, you'll only have his body, not his heart." At this moment, the smugness vanished entirely from Lu Meifeng's face, replaced by a look of utter anguish. "Ihan, you've been blessed since childhood. Wanting for nothing. Ruru is different. Could you please not fight her for Chuyang?" As Lu Meifeng spoke, Su Ro was already in tears. "Hannah, for the sake of me being your older sister, could you please let me go?" Su Daqiang's attitude remains firm. "Ihan, even if you don't agree to cancel the engagement with Chuyang, your father will find a way to make Su Ro marry Chuyang. If you don't let go now, you'll only embarrass yourself later." This family of 3, singing in unison, using both soft and hard tactics. If it were the kind and weak me from my previous life, I would probably have already thought it was my fault. But how dare you ask me to let you off the hook? It was Su Ro who shamelessly seduced my fiancé and got pregnant with his child. I must have been cursed for 8 lifetimes to get tangled up with people like you. Listen to me, Su Ro. No matter what tricks you pull, I will not call off my engagement to Zhang Chuyang. Go ahead and have the baby. That child will call me Mom, while you will forever be in the shadows. At most, the child might call you Auntie. Hearing this, everyone in the room was left speechless with rage. Bang! The food delivery auntie who just walked in accidentally dropped the bowl. "I'm so sorry, I'm just clumsy." She frantically tried to pick up the shattered ceramic from the floor and accidentally cut her hand. Unable to watch any longer, I stepped forward. "Let me do it." I crouched down to help her pick up the broken pieces of the bowl. After picking them up, I stood up, ready to throw them away. In that moment, my gaze inadvertently fell on the face of the food delivery aunt, and I couldn't look away. It's so similar, just like Su Ro. 21. The suspicion I had suppressed once again resurfaced. Noticing me staring at her, the lunch lady quickly lowered her head and said to me, "Thank you, it's okay." I gently patted her shoulder, by the way taking a strand of hair from her head. As soon as I stepped out of the ward, I saw Zhang Chuyang. His expression was filled with excitement. "Hanin, that's great. You don't mind Su Ro having my child and are willing to be the child's mother. Don't worry, I will definitely treat you well in the future." With that, his eyes filled with deep affection as he looked at me. It seems like he overheard what I said in the hospital room. I almost feel like vomiting. In my past life, how blind was I to be unwilling to let Su-ro take such a thing? What about Su-ro? I deliberately raised my voice. Just give her some money after she has the baby. Zhang Chuyang said it with utter indifference inside the room. As Zhang Chuyang's words hung in the air, another wave of gasps erupted. Su-ro fainted again. I don't care if it's real or fake. I stared at Zhang Chuyang with an expressionless face. What I just said was only to provoke Su-ro. From the moment you got involved with her, we were done. Do me a favor and tell your parents that when you get home, I'd hate for them to go around telling everyone I'm their future daughter-in-law. Honestly, being associated with people like you is just embarrassing. After saying those words, I walked away without paying any attention to Zhang Chuyang's reaction. 22. The day before the graduation banquet, my mom and I returned home after choosing our dresses. I found Su-ro and her parents at my house. The family of 3 lounged on the sofa, watching TV while cracking sunflower seeds. The villa floor was a mess, littered with sunflower seed shells and spilled tea. What are you doing here? I stared at them. Su Daqiang leaned back further into the sofa. What kind of talk is that, Ihan? We're family. Roro just got out of the hospital. It's too inconvenient to go anywhere else. Where else would we stay if not here? The servant was at this moment carrying things down from upstairs. I focused my eyes and was shocked to see that it was my own belongings. Noticing my gaze, Su-ro spoke innocently. Hanan, uncle said I need a good environment to recuperate, so I'm afraid you'll have to stay in the attic or a guest room. Well, they've taken over my room again without even notifying me. I'm furious. Just as I was about to speak, my mom cut in first. Security, throw this family of 3 out. How dare you? Do you know who I am? I'm the older brother of the owner of this villa. If you lay a hand on me, I'll fire all of you. Su Daqiang is seething with anger. However, the security guards completely ignored them. After all, this villa was my maternal grandparents' dowry for my mother. The 3 thrown out sat at the gate of my villa, cursing and yelling. I calmly said, if you keep shouting, I'll call the police. As I spoke, I took out my phone. As soon as I dialed 110, the 3 of them fell silent. They got up from the ground, carrying their meager belongings, and left. Su-ro. I called out to Su-ro at this moment. What more do you want? Su-ro could no longer keep up the pretense. Clutching her stomach, she looked at me with eyes full of wariness and hatred. Don't you dare lay a finger on my child. Ha! I let out a cold laugh. You can't marry into the Zhang family just by relying on a child. 23. The Zhang family values their reputation above all else. Only by making it public knowledge that you're carrying Zhang Chuyang's child do you stand a chance of being welcomed through their front door properly. Why would you be so kind? Su-ro's expression was deeply moved. She wasn't a complete fool, after all. She quickly figured it out. Su-ihan, you did this on purpose. You want to drag the Zhang family down with you, to ruin their reputation too. Yes, I did it on purpose. I've given you the chance. Take it or leave it. Not long after Su Daqiang and his family left, my father returned. An unprecedented argument erupted between him and my mom in the living room. Because of me. Because of Su-ro. Their argument started with Su-ro seducing Zhang Chuyang and escalated far beyond that. My dad felt that all these years, my mom had always overshadowed him, believing she could make more money, which made him feel deeply humiliated. For my mom, beyond feeling I'd been wronged, her deepest resentment was the years of emotional neglect from my father. My mother, who was always so poised and composed, finally broke down. Su Zhennan, you're spineless, useless, a chauvinist pig. You don't protect your own wife and child. You're heartless, gutless, and blind. Jing Yunru, you're asking for it. My father raised his hand, about to strike my mother. Of course, his hand didn't land on my mother. Stopped midair by the security guard. Beat Su Zhennan as hard as you can. The harder, the bigger the bonus. 24. The living room was filled with Su Zhennan's agonized screams. I've wanted to do this for a long time. Even if I only ended up attending a junior college in my previous life, I could still have made a good life through hard work. It was Su Zhennan, Su-ro, and Zhang Chuyang. No matter what job I look for, they will use their power to sabotage it. My miserable life in my previous incarnation, although partly due to my own foolishness, I never did anything wrong from beginning to end. It's these bad people who have been pushing me all along. From the moment I was reborn, I wanted to beat Su Zhennan to death, but when I actually did it, I didn't feel any sense of satisfaction. Because of my mom. My mom's face was full of hurt. Mom, I said, stepping forward to take her hand, calling out to her cautiously, I'm fine. My mother forced a faint smile in my direction. Only when Su Zhennan was beaten into silence did my mother speak to the security guard. Stop. I still felt a pang of resentment at letting Su Jinan off so easily. My mother patted my hand reassuringly. Tomorrow is your celebration banquet. It's best not to let this escalate. So, I didn't say another word. Su Jinan was taken to the hospital, and my mother had someone posted outside his room to keep watch. That night, the light in my mother's room stayed on. Unable to rest easy, I went to her door. Inside, I saw her gathering up all the photos of her and my father. She looked at them for a moment, lost in memory, before tearing them to pieces. That's right, I only saw my father's flaws, but I failed to see everything he and my mother had been through together. Noticing my arrival, my mother beckoned me over. I walked over and nestled into her arms. My mother's voice came from above me. When I wanted to marry your father, your grandparents didn't approve. They said his background wasn't good and his prospects were poor. I was swept away by his sweet talk and was determined to marry him. It seems I really made the wrong choice after all. 25 Mom, everyone makes wrong choices in life. As long as you realize your mistake in time, it's fine. Besides, I looked up at my mom and added, if it weren't for being with my dad, maybe you wouldn't have such a smart and clever daughter like me. My playful remark successfully brought a smile to my mom's face. She looked at me and asked seriously, Hanin, if your dad and I get divorced, can you accept that? Yes. Would you choose to stay with me? Yes. This time, I answered without a moment's hesitation. Perhaps my answer gave my mother strength, as a look of confidence returned to her face. Once your college celebration dinner is over tomorrow, I'll ask him for a divorce. Okay. I held my mother and slept beside her. I waited until her breathing steadied before getting up. I found one of my father's short hairs on the pillow, took it, and left the bedroom. Early the next morning, I made an excuse to go out and went to the hospital to collect Sue Rose's hair. Then, we submitted Sue Rose and my dad's hair, as well as Sue Rose and the lunch delivery aunt's hair, for a paternity test. After getting home, my mom and I headed to the hotel together. As noon approached, guests started arriving one by one. My dad, who was supposed to be resting in the hospital, insisted on getting up to attend my graduation celebration. I was a bit worried he might cause a scene at the college acceptance party, but my mom pointed out that my dad is incredibly vain. That put my mind at ease. Just as my mom predicted, my dad, who usually can't even be bothered to look my way, was beaming with a smile so wide, it couldn't be contained by the bandages wrapped around his face. Old Sue, your daughter has really made something of herself. That's right, she takes after me. Someone, seeing his sorry state, asked with concern, what happened to you? How did you get so banged up? A shadow passed through his deep-set eyes, yet my dad's smile remained radiant. Ah, he said, I was just so over the moon about my daughter getting into Tsinghua. I had one too many and took a tumble. That's all. 26 Hearing this, my mom and I exchanged a glance, both of us struggling to hold back our laughter. I have to admit, he's quite good at making excuses for himself. His talent for bald-faced lying certainly found its perfect application. Guests streamed in one wave after another, until finally, to my mother's great relief, my maternal grandparents arrived. My grandparents were upset back then because my mother stubbornly insisted on marrying my father. Over the years, although I've quietly helped my mom with her career, there has been almost no public interaction. Every time my mom visits them, they always have stern faces. Only when they are with me do the two elders seem happy, but I know that they are just using me as an excuse to care about my mom, loving me because they love her. Mom and Dad, you're finally here. My mom let out a sigh of relief. My grandparents had a smug look. If it weren't for the fear of leaving a regret at Hanin's graduation banquet, we wouldn't have come. Yes, I'll take you in. My mom went to help my grandparents. My classmates are all here. The Zhang family is here, and the Su family is here too. As noon approaches, the guests are almost all here, but I still haven't seen Qin Zhou. It's only now that I feel a bit rash. I don't know how Qin Zhou's academic performance is, and I don't know which university he got into, yet I invited him here so rashly. Just as I was thinking, a familiar voice suddenly came from above. Excuse me, where should I sit? I looked up and met Qin Zhou's beautiful eyes. I'll take you there, I said, my face involuntarily breaking into a smile. 27. I took Qin Zhou over to the table where my high school classmates were sitting. The moment they saw Qin Zhou, the girls who had been chatting animatedly immediately fell silent, their faces flushing. Hanin, you're amazing. You even managed to invite the campus heartthrob who never gets close to anyone. Hearing that, I just smiled and said nothing. Su Group is no small company. Most of the people attending my graduation banquet are business partners. I followed my parents to toast everyone. When it came to the table where the Zhang family was seated, someone voiced a question. Why are your in-laws sitting with us? My mother smiled and said, "The engagement between Henin and Chuyang has been dissolved. The engagement itself was just a joke made many years ago and wasn't meant to be taken seriously." Everyone present was sharp, so no one continued to ask questions. Instead, Zhang's parents were unhappy. However, they held back and didn't express their opinion. My mother wanted to leave some dignity for the Zhang family, but I didn't. You want to do something disgraceful and still get a dignified ending. Since when does the world work that way? I looked at Su Ro. She was clutching her stomach, her expression conflicted, as if wrestling with whether or not to reveal right then and there that she was pregnant with Zhang Chuyang's child. So, I simply walked towards Zhang Chuyang, who wasn't far from her. Halfway there, my foot suddenly caught on something, and I pitched forward, and right in front of me was Su Ro. Just as I was about to crash into Su Ro, a sudden force pulled at my waist. It was Qin Zhou. He had hooked his arm around me. "Thank you," I said to him, straightening up in his embrace. Su Ro, still shaken, exploded with rage. Clutching her stomach, she rose from her chair and pointed an accusing finger at me. "Sui-han, you did that on purpose. You can't stand that I'm carrying Chuyang's baby, so you're trying to make me lose it." 28. Su Ro's words caused an uproar in the room. Everyone immediately understood. The reason I broke off my engagement with Zhang Chuyang was that he had hooked up with my cousin, and they even had a child together. Everyone present was concerned about their reputation, and many looked at the Zhang family with disdain. Mr. and Mrs. Zhang were the most concerned about their reputation, and Mrs. Zhang immediately denied it. "Su Ro, what are you talking about? Our Chuyang isn't someone you can just hook up with." At this point, Su Ro decided to throw caution to the wind. "Auntie, you know very well whether the child in my belly is Chuyang's or not. If you really don't want to admit it, we can just do a paternity test once the baby is born." "You bitch, I'll tear your mouth off." Seeing the Zhang and Su Dachang families about to come to blows again, my mom had security throw both families out. The scene fell quiet once more. The looks in everyone's eyes held a new layer of pity for me, of course, except for my dad. His face was ashen, and his eyes looked like they wanted to devour me. As soon as the graduation celebration ended and we got home, my dad exploded. "How could you two be so cruel? Ruru is already pitiful enough, pregnant with Zhang Chuyang's child and not recognized by the Zhang family. Do you have to drive her to her death? Isn't this what she deserves?" "Sui-han, don't think I won't teach you a lesson." My dad strode toward me. The security guards stood in front of me, surrounding me tightly. "Go ahead, hit me, unless you want another trip to the hospital." 29. I knew you were no good. "You." "Enough." My mother, having reached her limit, cut my father off. "Su Zhennan, I want a divorce." "Divorce, Jing Yunru, are you kidding me?" My father's voice was thick with shock and disdain. Clearly, in his mind, no matter how he treated my mother and me, she would never leave him. "Yes, divorce," my mother declared, her voice firm and resolute. After a moment to process this, my father let out a cold laugh. "Fine, let's divorce then. We'll split the assets 50-50. Why should we split it 50-50? What have you ever contributed to this family besides eating, drinking, and having fun?" I'm not happy about this, but my mother said, "All right, I'll have the lawyer draft the agreement later." So be it. After my father went upstairs, my mother looked at me and reassured me, "Hannah, since we've decided to get a divorce, the most important thing is to cut the knot quickly. I can always earn more money. Besides, he is your father. After all, giving him a share isn't the end of the world." My mom does have a point. So I kept quiet for now. Seeing that my mom was fine, I told her I was going out to meet a classmate. In reality, I went to the hospital. Hopefully, my guess is wrong. If so, to keep my mom from being too upset, I could let Su Zhennan get a bit of the estate. At the hospital, I smoothly obtained the identification results. When I opened the identification report and saw the results, I was so angry I could barely catch my breath. I was right. Su Ro is indeed the child of Su Zhennan and that lunch lady. 30. I immediately took the paternity test results back to show my mom. My mom, who had been heartbroken over the decades of marriage, was completely consumed by rage when she discovered that the child my father had from an affair was 3 years older than me. True to form, even in her anger, my mother didn't let rage cloud her judgment. She called my maternal grandparents. She told them what happened. My maternal grandparents arrived with my 3 uncles. My father, who was taking a nap, was dragged out of bed and beaten up by my 3 uncles. He was already injured and was beaten to the brink of death. Then my uncle placed a divorce agreement in front of him and told him to sign it. When my dad saw that it stated he would be left with nothing, he refused to sign no matter what. My uncle snorted coldly. "Su Zhennan, think carefully. If you don't sign, I'll report you for bigamy tomorrow and have you thrown in jail. Not only that, but I'll beat up every other member of the Su family I see from now on. You'll never get ahead in life." Only then did my father Realizing Su Ro's secret was out, signed his name with a defeated expression at this moment. My parents officially divorced. From now on, he is no longer my father. Su Zhinan was thrown out of the villa like a piece of trash. I'm so angry. If it weren't for Henin, I would definitely send him to jail. My uncles are furious. My mom couldn't afford to be sad and turned to comfort my grandparents and uncles. Finally, my grandparents and uncles felt so sorry for my mom and me that they insisted on taking us in for a while at my grandparents' house. I felt a warmth I had never experienced before, so much so that I never wanted to go back. My mom also thought the villa was unlucky and sold it below market price. With over a month left before Tsinghua starts, my mom asked me, "So, what are your plans for the time being?" "Mom, I want to do an internship at the company with that trash taken care of. Making money is what really matters. I need to start learning how to manage the company early, so I can take over the family business." After hearing my response, my mom smiled. That's exactly what I had in mind. 31. My mom took me to buy a few professional outfits. Dressed in professional attire and with my hair tied up, the person staring back at me in the mirror was bold and self-assured, a far cry from the timid soul of my past life. The next day, I went to the company with my mother. I watched firsthand as my mother instructed the HR department to fire every single person Su Zhinan had previously forced into the company. Soon after, in the CEO's office, my mother's phone started ringing off the hook. "Sister-in-law, we are at least family, and Su Zhinan's disgraceful actions have nothing to do with me." "Sister-in-law, I've already cut ties with Su Zhinan. Jobs are hard to come by these days. Could you please, for old time's sake, not fire me?" In the face of interests, Su Zhinan's vaunted brotherhood proved to be fragile. My mom, too lazy to waste time, simply blocked all of them. My mom handed me over to a senior colleague at the company. And I have a lot to learn every day. Amidst this busyness, I couldn't help but hear about everything happening with the Zhangs and the Su family. It's not that I wanted to listen, but the Zhang scandals have been so numerous lately that they've become the talk of the town. At my college acceptance celebration, Su Ro publicly announced she was pregnant with Zhang Zhiyang's child. Humiliated by the scandal, Zhang Zhiyang's parents forbade him from having any further contact with her, whether out of genuine devotion or because Su Ro was particularly cunning. Zhang Zhiyang defied his parents' orders and continued his affair with her in secret. When his mother accidentally discovered the truth, she was so enraged that she ended up hospitalized over at the Zhang Group. Their disgraceful conduct led to the collapse of several major partnership deals, resulting in devastating financial losses. Seeing the company's stock price plummet day by day, Zhang's father was at his wits' end. That's not all. It turned out that Su Ro had no idea she was an illegitimate child. Upon learning that the lunch lady was her mother, she cursed Su Zhinan and her biological mother for being shameless. In a fit of anger, she lost the baby. 32. Without the child, Su Ro no longer had a chance to marry into the Zhang family. Her status in the Su family plummeted. She stopped being stubborn and started trying to win Su Zhinan back. After all, Su Zhinan has money. The reason Su Zhinan quickly signed the divorce papers with my mom was twofold. 1. He was afraid of going to jail and of my uncles. 2. He had a stash of private money, and quite a bit of it. How could someone accustomed to a life of luxury endure the days when his savings were gradually dwindling? Su Laosan lured Su Zhinan into a gambling addiction. Within a month, he lost millions, wiping out his entire fortune. Stripped of his wealth, Su Zhinan could no longer command the Su family's fawning respect and was cast out of the household. I heard from our old villa neighbors that a down-and-out Su Zhinan came looking for my mother and me. Sadly, the villa had long since changed hands, and he found no one there. 33. Hearing others discuss their miserable circumstances once more, I realized my heart remained largely unmoved. We've long since lived in entirely different worlds. Regardless of whether their lives improve or not, I will strive to become better and better. On the day of Tsinghua's opening, at the school gate, Zhang Zhiyang stopped me. "Henin, I've completely cut ties with Su Ro. We grew up together, childhood sweethearts. Can you forgive me this once?" What's laughable is that I actually saw a hint of genuine affection in Zhang Zhiyang's eyes. Some people are like this. They don't cherish what's easily obtained, yet they yearn for what they can't have. Sorry, but no, even a glance at Zhang Zhiyang feels like a waste of my life. I walked straight past Zhang Zhiyang and into the school grounds. A familiar figure came into view. It's Qin Zhou. He's also holding an admission notice, as if waiting for me. Seeing me, he walked over and invited me. "Shall we go to report together?" "Okay." I nodded and walked side by side with Qin Zhou. Let the past rest and face the future without fear. I will ultimately become the person I want to be. The end. Story 2. My husband was diagnosed with liver cancer, and the treatment costs 500,000 yuan. When I went to the bank to withdraw money, I discovered that he had secretly withdrawn it to buy A school district house for Bai Guang's son. I angrily confronted my husband, but he yelled at me instead. Xiaoya's son is about to start kindergarten and needs a school district house. We don't need the money urgently, so I gave it to them first. Are you seriously making such a big deal over such a small amount of money? I slapped the divorce papers down in front of him and walked away without a second glance. Well, he's the one with cancer, not me. I'm not in a hurry anymore. My legs felt like jelly as I walked out of the hospital. A while back, the company offered a health checkup package, and my husband and I both got full body exams. To my shock, the hospital suddenly called me in today, saying my husband has liver cancer, and it's already in the middle to late stages. Thinking about how my husband and I have been married for 3 years and have always had a wonderful relationship, I couldn't help but burst into tears. He's only 30 years old. Why does fate have to be so cruel? I couldn't bear to tell him the truth. For one, people with liver disease shouldn't get agitated, and secondly, he seems to have been having a hard time at work lately and has become much more short-tempered. Thankfully, we've both worked hard these past few years and don't have children yet. The doctor said there's a suitable liver transplant available, so there's still hope for survival. I dried my tears and decided to go to the bank first to withdraw our 3-year fixed deposit, but when I got to the bank, the teller told me there wasn't a single cent left in the account. I was completely stunned. That's impossible. There was clearly 500,000 in there. My husband and I deposited it together. The teller calmly reassured me, saying they would check the withdrawal records for me. Ma'am, the records here show that 500,000 yuan was withdrawn from this card just the day before yesterday. Who withdrew it? The teller's eyes showed a hint of sympathy. Your husband, Wu Zhiyu. As soon as I asked the question, I already knew the answer in my heart. Only I and Zhiyu knew the password for this card. Trusting our marriage, I never suspected him, but I never expected him to secretly withdraw all the money we had saved for having and raising a child. After a series of blows, I felt a bit dazed. All I could think was, where did he spend all that money? No longer able to focus on work, I decided to take a half-day leave and rushed home. I cried for a long time in the bathroom. My eyes hurt and felt dry, my mind a complete mess. How to fix this? Where did the money go? These two problems haunted me like a curse, and suddenly, the sound of a door opening echoed. I glanced at the time, only 1:45. It's a workday, and this is the perfect time for a lunch break. Why did Zhiyu come back too? I was just about to ask him about his bank card when I heard a familiar female voice. Xiaoya, you must be sweltering. Come in and cool off. Honestly, why do you push yourself so hard? It breaks my heart to see you like this. Xiaoya, so it's he Xia, my husband's first love, the one who got away. I thought they weren't in touch anymore. My hand froze on the doorknob. I'd better not. I wouldn't want your wife to get upset. My own marriage has been a disaster, and I wouldn't wish that on you too. That was such a manipulative, sugar-coated line, but Wu Zhiyu was clearly lapping it up. His heart ached for her. Don't say that, Xiaoya. You're the most important person in my heart. How could Xingyan even compare to you? She's not gentle at all, always trying to control me. All she ever thinks about is making money. I lost my feelings for her a long time ago. I had no idea my usually doting husband could wear such a face. So, is this really how he sees me? Does he even realize I only control his diet because of his family's medical history, and I work myself to the bone for this family? And now, all of that is somehow my fault. I swallowed my anger and stayed silent. I wanted to see just how he would badmouth me behind my back. I'm so envious of my sister-in-law, having a wonderful husband like brother Yu. It's just my bad luck to end up in this situation, having to borrow money from you. Wu Zhiyu quickly tried to comfort her. Don't cry, don't cry. With Xingyan and me here, you don't need to worry about the money. I was startled. What does this have to do with me? Thank you, brother Yu. You're so good to me. But you just transferred me 500,000. Are you sure sister-in-law won't mind? Wu Zhiyu said with a dismissive look. Her money is my money. I'll spend it however I please. If she dares to make a fuss, I'll put her in her place. In the bathroom, I was both shocked and furious. It turns out that Wu Zhiyu secretly called he Xia behind my back. That's clearly our. What right does he have to control it all? A surge of anger rose in my heart. I instantly lost all reason and rushed out the door. The two people who had been cuddling quickly separated upon seeing me, their faces alternating between green and white. A truly fascinating sight. I stared intently at Wu Zhiyu. Where did you put the money from our baby fund? His face turned a deep shade of purple, and he angrily accused me. Do you have any sense of morality? You were eavesdropping on our conversation. I laughed in anger. How is it eavesdropping when I'm in my own home? Don't try to change the subject. Tell me, where did you put the money? Seeing my grim expression, Wu Zhiyu softened his tone. He quickly pulled me into the room and began massaging my shoulders in an attempt to placate me. Honey, listen to me. Xiaoya is divorced and raising a child all on her own. She's having a tough time. We should lend a helping hand when we can. A child's education is a serious matter. If I don't support her now, it could ruin the kid's entire future. That 500,000 you're sitting on isn't doing any good. Giving it to Xiaoya is putting the money to its best use. It's practically a lifeline. I was absolutely furious. I really want to tell him about the liver cancer diagnosis right now, but getting angry is bad for the liver. If he finds out he's sick, he definitely won't be able to control his emotions, and it would be terrible if his condition worsened because of it. I tried to keep my emotions in check, speaking as calmly as I could. Everything else is negotiable, but not this money. This is our emergency fund and our savings for having a baby. If you lend it all out, what will we do if we need money urgently? What if someone in the family gets sick? This is our lifeline. Wu Jiu wouldn't listen at all. In fact, he got angry because I was being so persistent. Urgent, urgent, urgent. What's the big rush? You never mentioned needing the money before. Now that Xiaoya needs it, suddenly it's an emergency. And what's this about a lifeline? What life are we saving? Can you stop being so petty and stop lying? Xiaoya will pay it back. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? Me, worried, me, making a fuss. Because this is your lifeline we're talking about. Looking at the man's face, twisted with such viciousness, my heart sank. I took a deep breath. If you won't go, I'll go myself. If Xiaoya doesn't pay it back, I'll take her to court. It's marital property. The court will definitely rule in my favor. I was just about to push the door open and leave the next instant. Wu Jiu grabbed my hair from behind and slapped me hard across the face. Stop being hysterical. It's my money too, and I can give it to whoever I want. Can't you think about my position for a second? I've already lent the money out. If you force me to get it back, how am I supposed to face anyone? He didn't hold back at all. The force of the blow sent me stumbling backward, the metallic taste of blood flooding my mouth. My cheek burned with a stinging pain, but it was nothing compared to the ache in my heart. That slap just now completely extinguished any love I had left for him. Let's get a divorce. Wu Jiu stared at me in disbelief. You want a divorce over something this trivial? Xiaoya and I grew up together like siblings. Our bond is as strong as that of real siblings. Now that she's in trouble, just because of 500,000, you're threatening to divorce me. Xiaoya, who had been pretending to be dead in the living room for a long time, suddenly rushed up, crying like a pear blossom bathed in rain. It's all my fault, it's my fault. Don't divorce because of me, brother you. I'll go borrow the money right now, even if it means taking out high-interest loans or selling my blood. I'll pay sister-in-law back. These words were like a fuse. Wu Jiu slammed the table hard. Fine, let's get a divorce. Anyone who backs out now is a coward. I know what's bothering you. You're just being petty and jealous. Let me make this perfectly clear. I'm borrowing this money, no matter what. I don't care if it's from the baby fund, even if this 500,000 was your life savings. I'd still take it, and you'd better think carefully. If we divorce, you won't get a single cent. I let out a cold, mocking laugh. I kicked him out forcefully and immediately locked the bedroom door. Xiaoya was still outside, speaking in a sugary tone. Is sister-in-law angry? You shouldn't have hit her. You're a man. You should be more tolerant even if she's a bit willful. Tolerant? She doesn't deserve it. She just needed to be put in her place. Don't let her jumping around fool you. She went back to her room obediently after I hit her. She scared the moment I mentioned divorce. Women are all like that. I looked at the closed bedroom door, and my tumultuous heart instantly calmed down. I met Wu Jiu through a blind date, and after over 3 years of marriage, our relationship has been stable, with hardly any arguments. But everything changed a few months ago when news broke that Xiaoya had divorced her abusive husband. Wu Jiu started staying out all night, and every time we argued, he called me petty and accused me of having a dirty mind, especially recently, nitpicking at everything. What's most disgusting is that every time I advise him to keep his distance, he looks at me with disdain and says, Shenyun, you really have a filthy mind. Xiaoya and I have been clean and innocent all these years. If there was anything between us, we would have gotten married long ago. Do you really think you'd have a chance? I'm not the most perceptive person, so I didn't think much of it. I just assumed his recent mood swings were due to work stress, and I even felt guilty when I found out he was sick. But in that very moment, it suddenly clicked. It wasn't stress, and it wasn't an illness. He's just a straight-up asshole hiding behind the brother and sister act to carry on their shady, ambiguous affair, dragging out that pathetic fig leaf while clearly flirting. And if I mind, I'm the petty one. It's absolutely disgusting. A man like that isn't worth I went back inside not because I was backing down, but because I decided to call the police. Domestic violence is a pattern, not an isolated incident. If a scumbag dares to lay a hand on you, why should you give him the time of day? A wise person knows when to retreat. Sometimes, stepping back is the safest move. The police arrived quickly, leaving Wu Jiu and He Xie utterly stunned. He stammered, asking what was going on. I came out of the bedroom and pointed him out to the officers. Officers, I'm reporting them for solicitation and prostitution. Furthermore, after being discovered, they assaulted me with malicious intent, which constitutes the crime of intentional injury. Wu Jiu's face turned ashen, and he instinctively raised his arm. You bitch, who told you to call the police? In front of the police, he still dares to act so arrogantly. It's hard to tell if he's confident or just plain stupid. The police shouted sharply, don't move, hands up. He was quickly subdued. And even He Xie was interrogated by the police. He Xie started to cry, looking utterly innocent and wronged. You Gidge and I are just good friends. You're insulting me, sister-in-law. You can take your anger out on me. But how could you treat you Gidge like this? Wu Jiu really lost his cool. Even pinned down by the police, he was still defiant. Shen Yun, you need to apologize to Xiaoya right now. That 500,000 was a loan from me to her. You have no right to force her to pay it back, and she had nothing to do with the assault. I've seen idiots before, but never one this stupid. I hadn't even brought up the money yet, and he just blurted it out himself. Well, there you have it. The payment for services evidence is right there. The two were quickly restrained by the police and taken to the car, and I followed to make a statement. He Xie finally panicked, tearfully pleading, Officer, this is all a misunderstanding. They were just playing around as a couple. We can settle this privately, please. My son is waiting for me at home. The female police officer rolled her eyes discreetly and said, I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is a society governed by the rule of law. Even between spouses, physical violence is illegal. At the police station, the officers, following standard procedure, asked if we were willing to accept mediation. Wu Jiu still felt he was in the right at this moment. I'm a man. Disciplining my own wife is only natural. Why are you arresting me? I shook my head, firmly indicating my refusal to forgive. The police immediately cuffed him, and Wu Jiu panicked. Hey, I was wrong. Take it easy. He glared at me threateningly. Chen Yun, are you sure you want to keep this up? It's not just me who'll be humiliated. I remained unmoved. Then let's wait and see. He Xie started crying again. She looked at Wu Jiu with tears in her eyes. Like a pure white flower in the storm, Wu Jiu said through gritted teeth, what will it take for you to agree to mediation? Divorce. I held firm on that demand and refused to budge. Things with Wu Jiu had reached a point of no return. I knew there was no room for reconciliation left. I had to seize the advantage while I could and fight for as much of the assets as possible. If I waited for him to regain his footing, not only would dividing the property become a nightmare, but I'd also have to watch my back for whatever tricks he might pull. I know he must hate me right now, but he had to grit his teeth and agree. His job was special. And if the news of his arrest for soliciting prostitution got out, he could lose his job. I noticed that He Xie's eyes lit up noticeably when she heard the word divorce. I suddenly sighed and my attitude softened instantly. Maybe we shouldn't have gotten together in the first place. You're right, 500,000 is just a small amount to you. What I care about isn't the money, but the fact that you gave it to another woman, for your happiness. Let's get a divorce. Only by separating can you pursue your own happiness. And then you can spend your money on whoever you want. He Xie's eyes lit up even more, and she boldly confessed in public. Perhaps the happiness came too suddenly, and Wu Jiu remained silent for a while before adjusting his emotions. He finally nodded, but selfish as he was, the next sentence was about property division. Our major joint assets are 500,000 yuan and a house. The house was bought with both parties' contributions, so splitting it 50-50 is fine. The 500,000 yuan you lend out will be counted on your side, and we won't bother with the miscellaneous savings. Wu Jiu wanted to brush off the 500,000 yuan. I turned around and called the police. He Xie whispered to him, you go, maybe it's not worth it. You're not someone who can't afford it. With your abilities you'll quickly make it back. The priority is not to let this affect you. Wu Jiu gave me a cold, piercing look. Divorce is fine, but you can't go around spreading rumors. We're divorcing voluntarily, just due to a breakdown in our relationship. I nodded perfunctorily, indicating it was no problem. It must have been my attitude that displeased Wu Jiu, because he let out a cold snort. If you regret it now, it's not too late. Although I don't have any feelings for you, I did sleep with you for free for 3 years, so I can barely take responsibility for you. I felt utterly disgusted. Wu Jiu, embarrassed and Angry, snapped, "Since you don't know what's good for you, we'll meet at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow morning. Whoever doesn't show up is a coward." I nodded, grabbed my bag, and walked out. Wu Jiu was screaming his head off from behind, begging me to tell the police to let him out first. I scoffed. What was he thinking? If you don't agree to the divorce, don't even think about me signing that letter of understanding. A whole night is more than enough time to make a lot of things happen. You bitch, just you wait. The next day, I specifically took a day off from work and went to the police station early in the morning to pick them up. Wu Jiu looked awful, and Xia wasn't much better, but the moment she saw me, she put on an exaggerated act and cried out, "You actually came. I thought you'd be crying all night and would regret it. I guess you have some backbone after all." My heart was completely unmoved. In fact, I almost felt like laughing. I wonder if Xia would still be able to laugh if she knew the man she schemed so hard to steal was actually battling cancer. But I held my tongue and said nothing. After signing, a huge weight was lifted from my heart. To my surprise, as soon as we stepped out of the civil affairs office, Wu Jiu suddenly asked me, "Did you go to the oncology department at the hospital a few days ago?" My heart skipped a beat, but my expression remained unchanged. "How did you know that?" "Xiaoya saw you at the hospital a few days ago." Wu Jiu looked at her inquisitively and asked, "What were you doing at the hospital, and why the sudden need for money?" Xia immediately smiled, linking her arm with his affectionately. "Brother you, she's probably got cancer. Good thing you divorced her, or she'd have dragged you down." As if my secret had been stepped on, I flared up instantly. "You're the one who's sick. Your whole family is sick, with liver cancer." Wu Jiu's expression returned to normal. "Don't blame me for being heartless. In times of crisis, couples fly their separate ways. Don't contact me except about the divorce. I don't have money to lend you for treatment." I thought for a moment. "You're right," I said. "Maybe we shouldn't get divorced after all. If I'm going down, I'm taking someone with me." Xia's eyes widened in shock. She shoved me away. "You're so vicious. You're already divorced. Stay away from my boyfriend." As if afraid I would latch onto Wu Jiu, she grabbed his arm and they hurried off. The mandatory cooling-off period for divorce is 1 month. Wu Jiu didn't take the house, so I'd offered him 200,000 in cash instead. This probably also reflected Xia's wishes, since the house had nothing to do with her. But money was different. The day after the transfer, Wu Jiu couldn't wait to urge me to repay the money. He proudly told me that after getting the divorce certificate, he could marry Xiaoya, and they planned to honeymoon in Sanya to see the sea. I nodded expressionlessly. "I hope you have a great time. This might be his last trip ever, so why not enjoy it to the fullest?" Wu Jiu felt like he'd punched a pillow. Utterly ineffective, it only soured his mood, leaving him with a scowl on his face. After the paperwork was done, it suddenly dawned on him. He turned to me, furious, and demanded, "You already had someone else lined up, didn't you?" Xiaoya was right. "You're a total bitch." I let loose a stream of profanity. "Bitch your ass, get lost." After handling things here, I immediately went to see the boss. "Suzong, is that offer you mentioned last time about becoming the project leader in High City still valid?" Suzong looked puzzled. "Of course it's still valid. The company originally intended for you to take the position. Didn't you say it was difficult to relocate because your family is here?" "The position is still vacant." My face lit up. "Can I apply for the position now?" "I'm willing to relocate, Mr." Sue was taken aback. "What's gotten into you? When I tried to persuade you before, you absolutely refused, saying you couldn't bear to be apart from your husband. What made you change your mind so suddenly?" I gave a bitter smile, figuring there was no point in hiding it. "We're divorced. My husband was unfaithful." It was Mr. Sue who ended up feeling awkward. He immediately gave me a week off to rest up properly, telling me to report for duty after handing over my current responsibilities. Time flies quickly when you're busy. I sold the house for 1.3 million, and just as I was busy packing, I suddenly received a call from the hospital. "Hello Ms. Shen. This is the city hospital. We currently have a suitable liver donor, which is quite rare. Would you like to confirm the surgery?" I was stunned, almost forgetting about this matter. "You should contact him directly. We're divorced." The doctor on the other end paused before speaking. "Ms. Shen, to be honest, we've tried calling Mr. Wu Jiu several times. He clearly thinks we're scammers and has given us an earful every single time. He even mentioned you, accusing us of being in cahoots with you to swindle him, threatening to have us arrested. He said some other very unpleasant things, but the hospital really can't wait any longer." I sighed. "I'm really sorry, doctor, but there's nothing I can do, other than the divorce. I have no way to reach him now. He has a new girlfriend." Hearing me out, the doctor probably understood what I meant. After contacting Wu Jiu a few times, He naturally knew what kind of person Wu was, and could only sigh along, let's try again, but if it really doesn't work, we can only say that fate has its own plans. I have no idea what the doctor said to Wu Jiu. I quickly received his abusive text. Shen Yun, you bitch, you actually cursed me to get sick. You conspired with the doctor to deceive me. You just can't stand to see me doing well. Don't worry, I'll burn incense for you when you're dead. I opened his social media feed, and after being with He, he posted on his social media every day he was all about partying, dating, going to the movies, and splurging on the occasional luxury trinket, but I couldn't help noticing that Wu Jiu's complexion was looking worse and worse. His face was sallow, his lips had a darkish hue, and he looked utterly haggard. It made perfect sense. Unaware of his illness and with no one to rein him in, his all-nighters, chain-smoking, and reckless indulgence were bound to make his condition deteriorate. I couldn't be bothered with him. There's no point reasoning with someone hell-bent on their own destruction. The 1-month cooling-off period was over on the day I picked up the divorce certificate. I brought his medical report along, holding the brand-new red booklet in my hand. I was overwhelmed with emotion and nearly cried. He shot me a look of disdain. Crying won't help you now. Brother, you is mine. Wu Jiu feigned regret. Shen Yun, we're no longer husband and wife. There's nothing I can do about your illness. I can only wish you strength. I didn't have to hold back anymore and immediately retorted with biting sarcasm. Well, thank you very much, you and your whole family, and I wish you strength too. By the way, didn't you say you'd get the marriage license right after the divorce papers? Why didn't you? Wasn't it to your liking? Wu Jiu couldn't help but glance at He Shi's expression changed, and she retorted defiantly, what nonsense are you talking about? I just want more time to date brother you. After all, we've missed out on so many years. I thought Wu Jiu would see right through such a flimsy excuse, but to my surprise, he looked genuinely moved. Xiaoya, I'll always treat you well. You're the most important person in my life. I'd even give my life for you. Watching them whisper sweet nothings to each other made me sick to my stomach. I dug out his medical report, a wedding gift for the happy couple. Wu Jiu didn't take it. Instead, He grabbed it. She gave it a disdainful glance, tore it to pieces, and threw it in the trash. So sorry, but with you having that kind of illness, we wouldn't dare accept anything from you. We don't want to catch your bad luck. Fine, you're always right. Don't call me for the funeral, though. I find it inauspicious too. He is furious. What are you talking nonsense about? How dare you curse me? Let me tell you, I just had a physical checkup the other day, and the doctor said I'm perfectly fine. Ready to have a second child anytime, unlike you, who's been married 4 years and still hasn't had a child, a hen that can't lay eggs. I blink innocently. Who said anything about you? I didn't say you're going to die, so why are you in such a rush? Turning to Wu Jiu, who was ready to strike with a menacing air, I forgot to tell you, your girlfriend just tore up your medical report. You should have also received a call from the hospital. Right, that's right, you have liver cancer. The atmosphere suddenly turned silent. Wu Jiu's complexion visibly darkened. He almost lost his balance and fell, but to his surprise, He beside him didn't catch him. Instead, she quickly jumped away. I really wanted to tell her that liver cancer isn't contagious, so there's no need to recoil like that. After steadying himself, Wu Jiu didn't take issue with He's actions. Instead, he started yelling at me, you're out of your mind. Aren't you afraid I'll sue you? I sighed. I know it's hard to believe, but I'd still advise you to get checked at the hospital. Even though I can't stand you, I wouldn't joke about something like this. Seeing how dead serious I was, Wu Jiu finally panicked, his body rigid. He went to the trash can to search for the report that had been torn to shreds. He, her face pale, pulled him up. Brother you, that bitch is definitely lying to you. Don't believe her. Wu Jiu roared at her in a fury. Shut up. This is all your fault for tearing things up. Hurry up and piece it back together. He stared at him in disbelief. You're actually yelling at me. Unexpectedly, Wu Jiu didn't comfort her this time but instead shouted impatiently, completely losing control of his emotions. Patients with liver issues are most susceptible to emotional fluctuations. Suddenly, Wu Jiu turned pale, vomited a mouthful of blood, and collapsed to the ground. I bolted away as fast as I could. He panicked and cried for help, but could only wail. Finally, a passerby couldn't stand it and called an ambulance. This scene I had imagined countless times after learning about Wu Jiu's illness. Back then, I was truly scared and truly heartbroken. I had mentally rehearsed countless scenarios of his attacks, determined to save him, even if it meant selling everything I had to pay for his treatment. Now, the fantasy has become reality. In just over a month, All the characters in the story have been completely reversed. I felt no emotion at the sight before me, only a sense of satisfaction. The good mood lasted until the evening. The doorbell suddenly rang. When I opened the door, it was the police, and they were familiar faces from last time seeing me. The police also seemed a bit helpless. That's when I found out Wu Jiu had actually called the police on me. He claimed I gave him liver cancer and was demanding to see me, dead or alive. I was so furious I could only laugh. I went with the police to the hospital. Wu Jiu was awake and causing a huge scene at the hospital. Let me tell you, this hospital is deliberately deceiving and hiding information from patients. I've already called the police, and you're all going to jail. You're a bunch of quacks, utterly useless. All you know how to do is swindle money. I'm definitely suing you all. The hospital was in disarray, and Ishia was there too, standing in a corner with a less than pleasant expression, seemingly unwilling to admit she was associated with Wu Jiu. Hiding among the crowd pretending to be a casual onlooker, it was understandable. Though, Wu Jiu's expression was contorted, his veins bulging, a stark contrast to his former self. The doctor had previously mentioned that cancer patients have a certain probability of experiencing significant personality changes, advising family members to be prepared. Now I fully believe it. The doctor looked at me as if I were a savior. Ms. Shen, you're here, and the police officer is too. This patient is too agitated. It's all false accusations. We have evidence at our hospital. From the time the patient was diagnosed with cancer until now, we have never stopped contacting Mr. Wu. There are records of calls and text messages, and Ms. Shen can also testify. And Mr. Wu, you really can't get angry anymore. Anger harms the liver, and it's clear your condition has worsened again. Ms. Shen went to great lengths to secure a liver transplant for you, but you refused it yourself. Your body can't handle this anymore. Hearing this, Wu Jiu realized something, and before he could catch his breath, he fainted again. The doctor rushed over to administer emergency care. Ishia tried to slip away unnoticed, but the medical staff stopped her. Family member, right, I saw you come in together. Go pay the bill, now. Ishia's face flushed crimson. She stepped forward and grabbed my arm. Sis, you can't just abandon brother you. You were married for 3 years. After all, you wouldn't be so heartless, would you? I laughed. Oh, absolutely, and whose fault is it that he cheated with you? Not only did he steal $500,000 to buy your son a school district apartment, but he was also having an affair and living with you before our divorce was even final. Trust me, I haven't forgotten a single detail. The disdainful gazes of those around her pierced Ishia like arrows. Embarrassed to continue pestering me, she didn't plan to take care of Wu Jiu either. She took advantage of everyone's inattention and ran off. I thought about it and decided not to leave. It wasn't that I still harbored any illusions about Wu Jiu, but I was curious to see how he would react once he knew he had cancer. But I didn't expect Wu Jiu to be even more reckless than I imagined. The moment he woke up, he confirmed that I was the only one in the ward, and after just a few seconds of hesitation, he dropped to his knees. Thud, despite his condition. Wife, let's remarry. I couldn't help but sneer. What? Thinking of your ex-wife now that you're about to die? Didn't you say that in times of trouble, everyone flies their own way, and now you want to send me blessings? What are you doing now? When I confronted him directly and called him out, Wu Jiu's expression flashed with anger before he quickly suppressed it. Honey, it's all my fault. I lost my head for a moment, but I truly know I was wrong now. Can you give me another chance? Think about our last 3 years together. Weren't we happy? Let's get remarried, okay? The doctor says there's still hope for me. We still have our house, right? If we sell it, we'll have the money for my treatment. Once I'm better, I'll love you just like before. Let's have a baby. Alright, you've always wanted children. We can start a new college fund for them. Wu Jiu's expression was utterly sincere, his words so heartfelt they were almost moving. But now, looking at his face, I only felt profound irony. Honestly, I knew Wu Jiu had a past love from the very beginning of our marriage, but we're all adults. Who doesn't have a history? I didn't hold it against him. The moment I found out he was sick, my first thought was how to save his life. First, I got tested for compatibility. When that didn't work out, I did everything I could to raise money so he could get the transplant as soon as possible. I believe I fulfilled my duty as a wife. But what about him? I am profoundly grateful to fate for allowing me to see through his true nature in advance, so I won't allow myself to jump into the fire. I decisively shattered Wu Jiu's illusions. You don't need to waste your efforts on me. I won't turn back. Instead of spending time on me, you should focus on your white moonlight. First, it was 50,000, then 20,000. How much money do you have left? Maybe with that money, you can survive a few more days. Wu Zhiyu fell into deep thought, but it was clear he wasn't willing to give up on me. He vowed that he knew he was wrong and wanted to win me back. I booked a flight to Inner Mongolia the very next day. By the time Wu Zhiyu called me, I was already out on the vast grasslands. He was clearly taken aback. After a long silence, he asked, "Why are you going on a trip? Don't you know I have cancer?" I found it strange. "What does your cancer have to do with me? Didn't I already say I wouldn't be attending the funeral?" His tone shifted instantly, and even through the phone, I could feel his venom. "If you don't save me, I'll expose you. I'll make sure everyone knows you divorced your husband the moment you found out he was sick, took the house, and abandoned him, even if I'm going down. I'm taking you to hell with me." I scoffed. "Surely you're aware of a little thing called evidence, your affairs, the domestic violence, transferring marital assets. Every single thing is well documented. Go ahead, try to cancel me online. I'll just post a clarification. Might even gain some followers." Wu Zhiyu fell silent for a long time after hearing that. He had finally realized that my heart was truly hardened against him, that not a shred of sympathy remained after that day. He started sending me good morning and good night texts every day, just like when we were dating. It drove me up the wall, so I finally just blocked him. Peace and quiet at last. My vacation was winding down, and I needed to go back to the office to handle the final handover. I heard that Wu Zhiyu's condition had progressed from the intermediate to the advanced stage. He still hadn't given up trying to reach me. After some thought, I decided to go to the hospital. Better to arrive late than early. When I arrived at the hospital, I happened to witness Zhiyu Wu and Xia He arguing. In just half a month, he had become shockingly thin, lying in bed with a resentful gaze fixed on Xia He, lashing out at her at will. "You bitch, it's all your fault. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have gotten divorced, and Yunshin would have taken good care of me, doing everything possible to treat my illness, not one to back down." Xia fired back immediately. "What's that got to do with me? You're the one who treated her like dirt, cheating on her, hitting her, slapping her so hard you drove her away. How dare you say that? If you hadn't sweet-talked me into buying a house for your son, we never would have fought. You bitch, you jinx." There were quite a few other people in the ward, yet the two of them carried on shouting at each other as if no one else was there. The doctor looked utterly unfazed. Apparently, this had become a daily routine at the hospital. Xia couldn't just walk away either. If she tried, Wu Zhiyu would sue her for fraud. As they were finishing their argument, I casually walked into the ward. "Hey, haven't you found a liver donor yet? Xiaoya, did you get tested for compatibility?" Xia was taken aback by my question and instinctively retorted, "How could I be a match? My health is poor. Didn't you just say at the Civil Affairs Bureau the other day that you had a recent checkup? You're in great shape, even ready for a second child." Wu Zhiyu, hearing my words, seemed to grasp a lifeline, his expression excited. "Don't waste time, go and get the matching done for me right now." Xia's face was full of rejection, frightened by Wu Zhiyu's ferocious expression, wanting to slip away directly. Wu Zhiyu, already unable to control his temper, became completely enraged at this sight, and with an unknown surge of strength, he beat Xia severely. "If you dare to run, I'll kill you, along with that illegitimate son of yours, since I'm not going to live anyway. If you won't donate your liver to me, then give me my money back, or you're not leaving here today." I quietly slipped out of the hospital room. An immense sense of relief washed over me, and I was finally able to let go of the past for good. After that meeting, I went straight to Haishur and never saw either of them again. A few months later, I saw the follow-up on the news. It turned out that Xia had another family. She never got divorced. No wonder at the Civil Affairs Bureau that day, when I asked why they weren't getting a certificate, Xia panicked like that. She couldn't make it with her husband anymore, so she found out that Wu Zhiyu was doing well and planned to take advantage of this easy target. But no one expected this sucker to be on the verge of expiration, and about to kick the bucket. The seriously ill Wu Zhiyu was practically devoid of reason, and Xia and her husband were plotting to escape. Coincidentally, during that time, Wu Zhiyu couldn't stop thinking about her liver, and secretly following him. He discovered the secret. In a fit of rage, he pulled out a fruit knife and started slashing wildly. Xia's son died on the spot, and she herself was slashed several times. Seeing his wife and child seriously injured, Xia's husband went berserk and killed Wu Zhiyu in retaliation, landing himself in prison for intentional homicide. This news caused quite a stir, and many past events were dug up as a result. Some friends recognized me as the ex-wife of that unfortunate yet lucky man and came to offer condolences, which I accepted without hesitation. Life must go on. For me, Wu Zhiyu is already a thing of the past. Whatever he owed me, I've taken it all back. I will live my future life more seriously. Equals 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 equals. This resource is provided by Frosty Moon Essays. Official website, http://43/226/78/2666/. This site supports reading articles from 608-story platforms and downloading TXT files. Find books using 3 methods, article links, book titles, or access codes fully automated.